Rob, I mean, listen, it's not the name that was tipped by most at the start of the week, but absolutely no denying that was a champion performance from Brian Harman.
Yeah, it was a champion performance, Jules, and not just, I think, because of the quality of Brian Harman's performance over the course of 4 rounds, but also the character as well, because he has been asked questions psychologically during the weekend as to whether he could hold on to the healthy advantage that he'd made for himself, and the emphatic answer was that yes, he could. Drop 2 shots in his opening 4 holes yesterday, 2 in the opening 5 today, and when you look behind you, when you've never won a major championship before, and you see the likes of Jon Rahm rattling up the leaderboard, Victor Hovland was there at one stage, Rory McIlroy had a little bit of a surge today, you could quite easily buckle under the pressure, but just every time it seemed that group behind him got a little bit closer to the world number 26, Brian Harman just put his foot back down on the accelerator and moved away from those behind him. So it'll be a wonderful moment for him. It was nice to hear him thank his family, and his wife back then didn't come from a golfing family. His dad was a dentist, his mum was a chemist, didn't really play sports at all. He played a little bit of baseball when he was younger, did Brian Harman, and he spoke about how he got into golf, or really got the bug for golf, watching a former US Open champion, Steve Jones, at the Phoenix Open in 1997. He then randomly met him on a practice round the next week. It was the same tournament that Tiger Woods actually made a hole-in-one, but it was meeting Steve Jones that I think got him into it. He then went on to play very well at college level at the University of Georgia, had great success there, and then moved on to the PGA Tour. Just the second time he's gone into the final round of a major with a lead going into those last 18 holes. He was 1 shot clear at the 2017 US Open at Erin Hills. It was Brooks Koepka who surged past him that day 6 years ago to win by 4 strokes in the end. I wonder whether Brian Harman, when he went to bed last night, just thought of that, but his lead was far healthier going into the final round today, and Brian Harman didn't have his Jean van der Velde moment with his shoes and socks off trying to play out of the burn at Carnoustie. He held his nerve, and he is an Open champion.
He wins it by 6, matching the achievement of Shane Lowry at Royal Portrush 4 years ago. Of course, it's the final major of the year, Rob, and you can't help but start looking forward later in the year to the small matter of the Ryder Cup in Rome. How does this impact the US team?
It puts him right in the mix to be selected in that team. And remember, cast your mind back to just a couple of years ago at Whistling Straits, and it was absolutely emphatic from America to regain the Ryder Cup, and the team is absolutely packed full of stars, isn't it? Harman added to a mix. We know the sort of names that will be there. The world number 1, Scotty Scheffler, will certainly be involved. Brooks Koepka having won the US PGA, he will be part of that team. You've got Xander Schauffele, Max Homa, who's played pretty well this week, Patrick Cantlay as well. So Europe, they've sort of cultivated that team environment, haven't they, in successful Ryder Cup campaigns gone by, and that I think is what Luke Donald is going to have to do with his team, because on paper, individually, once again, America have the stronger team. It'll be interesting as well what Luke Donald might have learnt this week from the European players who have potentially come to the fore. There was a lot of discussion about maybe some experience being part of his wild card picks. Podrick Harrington was one name that we spoke to Donald about earlier in the week, but maybe some lesser names have just given him something to think about. Sepp Straka, who's played wonderfully well, particularly today, to rise up the leaderboard. It's been a very solid week for Antoine Rosner, the Frenchman, as well. So thoughts for both Zach Johnson and Luke Donald when it comes to finalising their 12-men team for Rome later this year.
And just finally, Rob, as Harman looks forward to the couple of pints he's going to drink out of the claret jug, as he referenced there, there'll be other players who'll be mulling over what might have been this week, the likes of Rahm and of Fleetwood, the home favourite, and of Rory McIlroy as well. No repeat of his Hoylake heroics from 9 years ago. Another near miss for McIlroy. Does it feel like he's getting closer to winning a major again?
He's there and thereabouts, isn't he? And I think Rory McIlroy will always be, or pretty much always be, in the final conversation when it comes to deciding major tournaments. It was the case, I think, over the last couple of days, that there were times for both Rory McIlroy and Tommy Fleetwood where you thought that the moment had come for them to really grasp a little bit of momentum that they'd gathered and take the charge towards Brian Harman at the top of that leaderboard. McIlroy yesterday, when he birdied 3 of his opening 5 holes, he then birdied 3 in a row today 3 through 5 with that wonderful 48-foot putt for birdie at the third. The same with Fleetwood. He started with a birdie yesterday at 2 and just couldn't get himself going. And there was a really interesting moment last night, actually, where I saw Brian Harman and Tommy Fleetwood walk off the tee at 15, and Brian Harman sort of charged off into the distance with real purpose, and Tommy Fleetwood was about 15 yards behind him and his shoulders were slumped, and you could sort of tell that he felt that the moment was just disappearing away a little bit. We move forward to the Ryder Cup and the Solheim Cup as well later this year. They'll both be fascinating team events. When it comes to next year, the 2024 US Open is at Pinehurst. The 2024 US PGA Championship is Valhalla for the first time in a decade, 2014. The last winner there, Rory McIlroy. Now, I know we've been saying that all week at Hoylake, but it is now, or it will be by the time we get to the Masters next year, a decade without a major for Rory McIlroy. Will 2024 finally be the year that the Northern Irishman ends that lengthy wait?
Followers will certainly hope so. Rob Jones in the rain on the Wirral. Thanks very much indeed.